from yesterday's class, where obviously we ended off with the the kind of the it's more the now advanced crit of any show or any um just radio in general. It didn't have to be a show, and I specified, pick a show in particular. um it just it just opens up widely more conversation if you can tell me what you genuinely find is being done that's good, and on what station or whatever it is, and tell me why it's good. Do you understand? It's the why that it becomes more important right now in your stage of learning and your growth than just the reasoning anymore, because that's quite easy to point out stuff, but to try and obviously elaborate is a different thing altogether. um Tell me how you I just want to see what's going on here. Okay, no, it's not for me. uh Okay, yeah. So tell me, in your opinion, just like tell me your thoughts, your rants, and your raves about radio as a medium, and what you've been hearing, and what you don't like, and what you do like, and we can kind of like chat back and forth as to why these things are being done, or what you can do, in your opinion, as a professional now, to change them.
Um, what I would say is that because mostly at home I listen to Ukozi FM, so Ukozi FM, it's big. That's what I would say.
Yeah,
Like the biggest radio station, like more than like I think 7 million listeners. So it's even
yes,
international. But I think one of the things that I don't like about radio is that you'll never hear that, oh, YFM is hiring. You just see new people, new faces without actually them announcing. And also, I feel like the personalities, they're just not allowing themselves to grow. I mean, I feel like if you've been in the radio industry for like 10 years, but you move to one radio station to another, but there's no growth in that. Why can't they like move to management? I think it's something that you've also mentioned yesterday is that
yeah,
they should you shouldn't like stay in one position. I feel like they're staying in one position. I mean, Mo Flavor moved from, I think, is it Metro FM to Joburg 947, and then he's still doing the same thing. He's not there to like maybe be the programs manager
yeah,
or whatever. He's still a presenter. Why is there no growth there?
yeah. And the thing is, um, tell me what. Okay, tell me why you think. Do you think that the growth is being stunted, or do you think the growth is a choice that the presenters have? In other words, like, for example, you did pinpoint Mo Flavor, and he was quick to pick, obviously, like an offer. The offer came to be at 947. The show definitely, and him as a personality, is definitely not the same, because, again, of the market and the format, and what is obviously expected to a much older audience. Or say not much older audience, kind of Metro and 947 almost hit the same mark, let's say on average of the mid 30s. But the thing is that you can't be you can't be Mo Flavor. You know what I'm saying to you, that he was hired at YFM, then he was kind of diluted down as he moved to Metro, diluted even further. Do you understand? So the thing is that the presenter is very knowledgeable of this, but yeah, I will tell you, as a starting point, there's a desperation to continue with your flag of obviously popularity. Do you understand? So most jocks will continue. Like, if there's an on opportunity for them, they'll just flag on, and they'll flag on. And what happens right now is that he will, like I say, you waste, because he starts all over again, in the sense that he needs to now reimagine, and again, kind of like recreate a persona that fits the 947 public, you understand, an audience. And so the thing is that that obviously requires a lot of different aspects and facets. So, for example, we have our social mediums, we have obviously like our live events, like you've got to obviously look at talent, kind of like talent acquisition as to, because he'll be now hired for different types of events, and push for different types of areas of conquest in a way than he was, let's say, as a metro jock slash a wide jock, because again, the audiences are living in different places. I'm saying to you, their lifestyle is very different. So what I'm trying to explain is that it takes up more time. Another 4 years will pass by. He gets older. You know what I'm saying to you? The time will expire at 947, because the thing is that you have to ask yourself, like he has to ask himself, like, where is he gonna go? Is he gonna take the breakfast from Manele? It's unlikely. It's unlikely that he will. So the business strategy is quite clear, and it's still he still will, let's say, on what we can see from the outside, he will still take that, knowing that, let's say, because I think he does lunch now, or lunch or brunch or whatever, right? Lunch, and that growth doesn't go anywhere. He's not going to take over Tando's show. He's not going to move to the 7 o'clock show, just because that doesn't really happen. You don't really go from like lunch to like 7 to 10. He might fluctuate between brunch and that's where he's going to kind of end. So a lot of time is I mean, it's forecast for him that that's where you will stay. The and like I say, as a point, if he doesn't make it known that he wants to be more than just a presenter, in other words, like even because to be part of program management, let's say, like he has to understand all aspects of on-air programming. So from sound engineering to production, to content production, to admin production, let's say, to obviously like being able to know more than, let's say, he's more is qualified, let's say his most qualified presenters, you understand, and their teams, and to know how team dynamics work. Like he has to also understand how, let's say, like the programming department will then obviously fluctuate within and out the PR. And again, like I said, the PR concepts department, and that obviously gravitates to sales. But again, the mastery doesn't need to be uh, conquered by him, but he needs to know, let's say, how that intertwines, so that like there can be fluidity in the choices that he makes, because a program manager doesn't just sit there and listen to the DJs. They've got to obviously like they've got to be innovative, and they've got to be able to build, obviously the product itself, as it is. So so in response to um like, let's say, for example, like that, do you think that most presenters choose not to learn more, and that they focus only actually more on their current public figure and on their product?
So I think they choose not to learn more, and then they focus more on being like a public figure and all of
Yes,
that. But I mean, if like you are a person and you've been on radio for like
yes, long,
decades now,
yes, yeah.
for sure you must know something. I mean, I feel like there's other ways around it. You understand radio, you know radio. For like being a programs manager, for sure wouldn't take that much of work because you've been there, you
Mm.
understand the ins and the outs.
Look, you know what it is? I'm gonna like I'll like, for example, we're chatting about that the Jack Randa one has been open now for a long time, the program manager department position. And I've had conversations with Deirdre, and it's say, but also I know, like, friends of mine obviously work at Jack Randa, you understand? So for example, let's say Joe Man, who told me you need someone on the inside to always tell you before it's advertised what's busy happening, also the politics as well. Like, so I said to him, okay, let's say, I said, so why did you apply for it? because I mean, obviously, I will apply for it, but the thing is, like they will obviously favor someone that's inside the station first because they know the culture and they know obviously the ins and outs. Again, the departments, again, the kind of the like the key performance, areas, and the KPIs or whatever it may be. Like they would understand that more just from the other side of being a kind of like an internal consumer to what management will now lead. And he said to me, you know what, I don't know enough. Like, because all I've been doing is on air for nearly, like I say, we've had careers in 23 years or so, you know what I'm saying? So he went, like I say, he went from five, he went to Metro, and he went to Jacaranda doing exactly the same thing. So the majority of obviously being a sports presenter, but have had been, obviously have been also on air as well. And that was kind of the limitation of. But to put yourself, and he said to me, he doesn't know enough like to be able to take on that role confidently and then also take the accountability afterwards of it. You have to have had some kind of, you see, to be able to manage something in general. Do you understand? Like you would have to understand that there are like obviously the cold and the hot spots, and obviously there's risk management that you have to do. You have to do procurement management, you can do HR management, like all the different types of management that fall under the nine knowledge management areas. This is required of a manager, period. I'm saying any manager. So middle manager, senior manager, like whatever it is, stakeholder manager, doesn't really matter. And so then what should happen is that, like you say, like someone needs to, they need to show interest. Like, so for example, let's say he or someone else within the programming department should have shown some interest in wanting to be cultivated for. In other words, like there must be someone that teaches them while they are in the business, you understand, to be able to take on that role, and so that it can happen without any problem, or like kind of like, obviously expenditure in every way, monetary, whatever it is, to the business itself. um but it is, you're correct. The thing is that people do not open their mouths. That's the thing. And they don't say, can I learn more? And if you ask most presenters, what do you want to do in the industry? And that they will say, I want to get as big as I can get, because that seems like obviously the logical choice. And in terms of like the road that they're on is to get bigger and bigger, so be either on a bigger show, have a bigger audience, have a bigger influence, have a bigger whatever it is, like, and expand obviously TV, like obviously TV, like it could be theater, movie, dancing, whatever it is, every type of different art, to be able to increase the brand, you understand? And then obviously kind of like producing like shows or whatever it is, and something like TV shows, running companies that are in line with, again, programming and it all in all its facets. But you're correct. Tell me, okay, so when you look at YFM, so YFM so they put all their positions out, right? Except the on-air ones. So is that what you're referring to? So you will find that, let's say, YFM is or looking like, you will see advertisements for positions. Like there's been a bunch over the past like 2 3 months, right? Which one also doesn't say anything good about YFM, because why are you hiring so many new positions? What happened to the old ones? Obviously they could have either been let go, or they could have all quit. You understand, over a period of time, a short period of time, which either or is not a good. It's really not a good like kind of reflection to YFM. But um, you have come across other positions. So, like for example, digital sales, like there's even strategic, ones that have been put up. Have you seen those?
I haven't seen any of those. The
Okay,
only position that I see, maybe if they're looking for a social media manager
sure.
or
Yes, that's what.
uh,
Yeah.
or
quite
a
common.
news anchor,
Yeah,
or
but
but
yeah,
that's all. That's all. You will never see them looking for a presenter
no,
or a
no, they won't.
producer. It's very rare. Even
No,
if they
the
do, I
producer
sometimes
the producer they just had now for the breakfast, because obviously it's a new breakfast, and they advertised it quite hard. It's the presenter themselves that is not a that no commercial station will open up to the public and say we are looking for, unless it's part of a promotional gimmick. You understand? So they're going to do some kind of like find talent, whatever it is, and then talk about that. You understand what I'm saying? You're right. But it is always something that's an internal process where they will go and scout for. Do you
But
understand? And they
how
will.
do we as young presenters, maybe from a local radio station,
Sure.
get there? Don't you think it's somewhat it's not
So,
fair because I mean everybody wants to work for a commercial radio station. Worst part,
mm,
Ukozi FM doesn't consider people from Gauteng. You can be Zulu
yes, no,
or
they won't. No, they
but
won't.
they won't.
No, they
Even
won't.
some parts
Because
of KwaZulu Natal, they won't even consider. You need to be from
yeah,
that other side, maybe from
yes.
Durban,
Yeah, but
that
that's been
other
that
side of KwaZulu Natal. They
yeah,
won't even
that's
consider you,
yeah, that's
even for
been but
news anchoring.
no, 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 no. I know that's okay. The news anchoring is a bit ridiculous, but in the sense, it depends on how the news department works. If let's say the news anchor is also a journalist that has to go and feed, you know, what I'm saying, let's say go like garner stories from the community. It's understandable on both counts. So this is when I first one of the first applications. Obviously, I did to commercial radio. You know, when you've had enough, obviously, of community, when you've found your wings, you've hit the top of the mark. You understand you're doing the drive shows. You know you must apply. You have to apply so that you can get out. And because I was having lunch with Lyndon, so Lyndon Johnson was running Good Hope at the time when I applied for Good Hope because I love Good Hope FM. And he said to me, and I said to him, you know what, like one of your first emails to me was devastating because like it made no sense to me at the time. And because he said to me, you know what, you're really good. It doesn't matter. But the thing is that we won't hire someone from Gauteng because in Cape Town, like the Cape Townian audience is so finicky about somebody that is not living there or that has not been brought up there or has no understanding of the culture, is that we will immediately put at risk the audience kind of lashback. You understand that you could have. And so the thing is that we don't even consider that as part of our obviously like our acceptance, whatever it is, process. With, let's say, Ukozi, same kind of thing. They'll be like, you have to live between, like I said, the KZN Zulu, like I say, Zulu community, to really be in touch, supposedly. Do you understand? To with what it is that they are creating as a product. I'm not saying it's right, because the thing is that it makes no sense. Let's say you get a job there, you understand, and you're good, and this does still happen at other stations. They do, let's say, they do commute you over. In other words, say if I get a job, let's say at OFM, they'll say, come on down. You're going to obviously live in Bloemfontein, and you can take the show and whatever it is. That does happen, but most of them will say, you're not part of the community. You don't understand like the kind of the ups and the downs, and even the way that we communicate with one another. You'll be alienated immediately. And so that's what they go on and say, ah, no, you know what, like it's not worth it. We'll rather go with someone that's kind of that's obviously got the culture kind of like pinged and, obviously grasped to much, but obviously like a bigger totality. So that's the reasoning why they do that, especially regionally. It's more likely that you will find a job. So as a community presenter, like you must have obviously years of experience, however many, from 2 to 4, and you must have a great demo. You understand, a great demo, an online presence, whatever it is, and you submit to the commercial stations, and that they will listen to you. Do you understand? So there isn't they don't pop out of nowhere. These presenters don't pop out of nowhere. We didn't pop out of nowhere. Like we came from community. So let's say everyone who has puts in their work to become better than everyone else, and anyone else at that station that you're currently at, is the one that 10 to 1 either is scouted by a commercial station or is then accepted by when you do apply with your demo. So there isn't, it's not all lost. Like it's not a closed, it's not like a group click or something that they're only that they hire internally according to their own friends or whatever it is. They do it, the obviously the growth cycle is from obviously a campus community straight to obviously then commercial, depending on the obviously the strength of your talent and the clout that you've made wherever you are. So, for example, like let's say now, I mean, you did say to me you did have experience, eh? I mean, you've had experience, eh?
Yes, I did, but it wasn't for a long time. I think it was like 5 months because I started in June 2020 until January 2021. It wasn't
Where
for
was
a
it?
long time. It was a community radio station in Mpumalanga. And also, I wasn't staying in Mpumalanga at that time. So, but my family is from there. So what happened was that during COVID, we all went home, and then we were just like, it was just a random day listening to the community radio station, and I heard they're looking for people. I'm like, oh, okay, let me just try. And then
Yeah,
luckily they accepted. I don't know why, because I wasn't staying there at that time.
yeah,
But that what happened. But it wasn't for a long time, and I had to come back this side due to I
yeah,
had to start school and stuff. Yeah.
yeah. Look, I mean, the thing is, again, you have to, wherever you are right now, you must take that, you must apply somewhere else as community. You understand? You know, obviously, how it works in terms of like whether there is the possibility that they could pay you only for your expenses that you're like obviously like occur, whatever it is. And they could not pay you at all because again, it is community service. But the thing is that like it needs to be longer than a year. Do you understand? That's the thing because like you one are going to have, like I say, a proper growth spurt where you make the mistakes, obviously, which is allowed in community because you are growing, and they will obviously they have to guide you. Like that's their job for you to provide them with free quote unquote work as a workforce. You understand? They need to in turn train you and give you skills and obviously the accessibility to the industry that you would not find like any one of our graduates. You can't, like if they we can't, none of our graduates can become on-air presenters at commercial radio because they haven't been through a community process. You understand? I'm saying to you, unless they have on their own in their own accounts, but they we can't. You can get hired for anything else because again, you've got now the diploma, so you can definitely be in any other department and start off with a great position, great money, whatever. But you can't be on air. It's just impossible to expect that they would risk the quality, obviously the obviously the like the stature of their listenership to someone who's never been on air or has had little to no experience. That's why we always say push, push, push to join a station and stay there for a while. You understand? Even if it's not the best station, it doesn't matter. The thing is, like what you produce in your own like capability, right? Is what counts at the end of the day. So that really is. I mean, that you can be at a great community station, you can be a bad one. Doesn't matter. Like whatever you do is what is obviously what's going to count at the end of the day. Okay, okay, so I'm gonna go. Yeah, you want to say? You want to comment?
No, I wanted to say, yeah, I also wished I wanted to stay long there because it was not a bad, it was a good radio station considering all the stations in
Right.
Pumalanga.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
it
and
was
that's
it
what
was
you.
the good one, but
Yeah.
yo,
Yeah.
I because I also saw I had because I was a news anchor there. I was also a junior journalist. I was getting training journalism wise.
Okay,
My bear in
great.
mind, it was the first time ever doing this. Had no clue how to do this and
Yes,
all
you
of
won't.
that.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
just first timing,
Yes.
freestyling all the way. But I also had like a chance to like produce for current affairs. I was
Yeah,
also
which is
about
great.
to move to presenting, but
Yeah.
I had to move. I felt like I had to move.
You must take this and you must list it down. You understand when I say, like, in other words, obviously you were there for 5 months, you name of the station, you obviously give the station manager's number, whatever it is, and then you can list obviously the stuff that you have acquired as skills. You understand, and then because your acceptance into a community station, so one of the bigger ones that do actually pay like Mix FM and like let's say, oh man, there's so many. There's Ekurhuleni FM. There's a lot of them that do actually pay. Do you understand? Like for you to join one of those stations will be a lot easier than anyone else is applying quote unquote off the street, just like you did when you did apply at the station. But that's the idea, is that if I even say to you, and I'm not trying to downplay like the quality of obviously academic learning and obviously obviously tertiary education, whatever it is. The thing is that because you're in a craft-based like major, which is, I mean, you're doing journalism, as you know, like you're doing a BABJ, um, et cetera, et cetera, right? Like you still won't. There's going to be a lot of stuff that you will not we can't teach you, in other words, not because we don't know how to, but the thing is that we can teach you only to a point, and then you have to actually be able to get, like you say, that kind of like, I'm learning on the go. I need to see kind of like the capacity, but also like the frequency and also the speed of how to do what and how to deal with like dead zones in journalism, like where there is no story or where the story stops and dies, and like being able to kind of like also procure brand new stories out of nowhere. Like I don't know what they teach you in journalism. I'm sure they must teach you that, but like that type of stuff is something that you can genuinely only learn out on the field. You understand? Like for example, if it's a high risk situation, like how do you deal with that? Like the kind of the protocols and the procedures, and then obviously putting that into practice. All that type of stuff. So again, I'll leave it at that. We'll continue with the lesson, but yeah, it's good to give it some thought. I'm glad you did, and let's talk about. Let me just quickly go. So I just wanted to quickly, before I started, I just wanted to show you this. I'll send it up. I'd like you to actually have a look at it for Thursday. Like I'm going to send you this. I'll send it to you on WhatsApp maybe. Okay. But it's a state of media and readership report that I found quite interesting. It was on the net. It's obviously of US readership trends, which I thought would be really cool and interesting for the BABJs and journalists, right? But it takes you through what was obviously trending, how, obviously in terms of impressions, like, so for example, obviously, like it gives you the dates here of, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen's funeral, the elections, obviously obviously the invasion of Iraq, but then also being able to see kind of that degradation from COVID, and having a look at how the year actually panned out, which is kind of again like very, very interesting, and always a really good advice from me to you to say, like, even here, Kanye West's brand deal controversy. I mean, for that to actually like cycle up as one of the top celebrity news stories is kind of, for me, it's kind of surprising, because no one really, and respectfully, no one really cares about Kanye West, because he's made so many kind of like very odd and very kind of like weird, reasons to be in the news over the past couple of years. But it shows you the power of obviously like celebrity states, and obviously like the kind of quirkisms and whatever it is, quirks. That's not quirkisms. Not It's not a word. But also to have a look at, let's say, like things like that are in retail, like McDonald's, and to have a look at the stuff. I'd like you to have a look at it. I think I think I know you'll find it super interesting and very cool. and I'll send that to you. But I'll actually also send it to Grant and say, please, can you just upload this to the to to the Col campus, right? And then move from then onwards. Okay, let's go to the lesson. And I'm going to talk about mission statements today. Um, Here we go. Okay, so I can just see that there. I'm just going to minimize this. Just switch on the mic. I'm not going to be able to see that. I'm just going to minimize that there so you can see the screen. Just open your mic and just say, Chris, can I ask a question if there are any? Okay, so let's look at why the mission statement is super important. The mission and the vision statement, like the mission statement, just in general, so we understand the difference. If you go to, let's say, to a company site, any company site, but let's say you go to a radio station site, you're going to see that both the mission and the vision statement are stated there for the public to see. The vision statement is the one that's permanent. So that's the one the station is built on. It will not change. The mission statement is something that will change every maybe 2 to 5 years. It depends on obviously the frequency and kind of the climate of the world around us and what the station feels they need to like quickly adapt to, and then we'll, let's say, refocus and kind of like redefine that mission statement. The mission statement has to be something that underlie is underlined, um, well, it's underlined, yeah, by the vision statement itself. It can't be anything that also breaks the license agreement, right? Because that is what the vision statement is literally, it's gifted to you by the CASA, and you have to stick to it. And you are at risk of obviously losing your license. And let me not carry on too much. I think that makes it quite clear. But at the end of the day, like, the importance. We're going to go into a little bit of research here, and why the importance of why we use research and why we ask questions, and we ask questions on an ongoing basis for ourselves as broadcasters is super important to understand, to develop, and obviously cultivate a great quality product at the end of the day. So, yeah, as well, I think I mentioned this a little bit. No, I think I did it in a different year altogether. I'm not sure if I did it with you. Um, and maybe I did yesterday. So it's about also the memory span of a listener and what they consider to be something to be banked. Okay, so for example, like a mission or a vision statement, or certain aspects of that we are feeding them as information, might not and probably will not actually hit home the very first time that they hear it, second or third or fourth, until it actually is there's a reason for why they want to keep it in their data bank of something that they want to remember, because it's useful to whatever it is, a perception that they have, some kind of attitude, sometimes action, doesn't matter, right? So, bias against talk. If we look at, let's say, like music versus talk, and so on and so forth, and obviously how much of what we leave as talk, through, let's say, an hour, per hour, and obviously per show. There's a radio futurologist named Mark Ramsey. He's really cool. He's an industry veteran that said there are at least two kinds of morning shows in the world: the one that folks know, and the one that they don't. Right. So the one that they do know, and I'm just going to kind of summarize this. Like, they have to depend on what they've done well. Do you understand? To keep their audience captivated, but they also have a lot of leniency from the audience that says, okay, if they skip a couple of songs, we don't really care. If they speak a little longer, we don't really care. If, let's say, the order and the kind of structure is a little bit messy, we don't care, because, let's say, the product is good, and was obviously we've learned to trust that the product is good. They will know what they're doing. I'm saying the people that are on in this breakfast show, the new Unknown Morning Show, like, they have a lot of trust to build, right? And so the thing is that they can't break those kind of structures and those rules. It's not allowed, because you can't take liberties like that with a new audience. You got to actually build their trust and get their trust, obviously by their buy-in from the listener, by actually doing a show as it should be done. You understand? So no surprises. Like everything needs to be like in order. Everything needs to be clean, slick. Give us some good radio. Play the songs when they need to. Only speak when you need to. Only say things that are of kind of like a kosher nature. In other words, like kind of like mass majority acceptable. Instead of trying to, and you've learnt about the stages in previous years, you understand, where you can't be controversial when you start and begin any show, like on any station. Doesn't matter if you are a veteran presenter, and you've been around the block. You got to There's certain things that you just genuinely in the beginning cannot and are not allowed to do, right? Okay. So we need to understand, like, when we do try to analyze why listeners do what they do, what is it that encapsulates, like, the reasoning of what they're doing, right? So in other words, like mood is a big thing, okay, and you know that as well. So mood, if you just look at music alone, just music alone, and the way that we select music, and look at different times of the day. For me, for example, let's say I'll split it up into like the stuff that I really do regularly. So, for example, waking up in the morning, obviously, like, let's say going to gym, let's say traveling and commuting in the car, and that's like on the way to Joburg, and then there's a different type of commuting back, and then let's say if there is any other, so for me there's not really like more reasoning to include music. Like nighttime is obviously more TV time, and then obviously anything in between is work, right? Okay, but I want, like, all those different little sects that I've named for you, all include different moods for different type of music, and not always the same music every day. It depends on obviously the mood within that sect as well. So, for example, maybe a Monday at the gym, for example, I might want to listen to more upbeat music. I'm just giving an example. I'm not there's no structural hierarchy or whatever it is that stands. It really is, again, because your mood will change depending on obviously your external world that is you're currently reside in, right? But my point is that, like, let's say, like in the car, I would like to listen to, like, on the way on, like, well, in the morning it's always something religious, so I'll listen to religious music, Christian music, or I'll listen to a Christian podcast. It doesn't matter, right? So on the way home, like, I definitely do not want to listen to anything in specific. I want to let my mood kind of dictate that, and that might actually go towards like a radio station that is a little bit unpredictable, and it's got something that I don't have to really do a lot of work in. And just to note that we need to understand that a listener is a person, and a person obviously is a listener. That we need to fluctuate and understand the general consensus for what moods match up to what they seek at certain times of day, certain days of the week, and obviously certain weeks of the month and months in the year, for us to be able to really, really harness the power of great content that matches up to our listener. So the thing is that a listener is not inconsistent. Even though I just described to you one person, which is me, that seems very volatile, a lot of choices, different things, different situations, a lot of there's got to be a lot of, like, requirements to what it is that is an outcome, as a choice. It still doesn't matter, because I'm not an inconsistent human being. You can still find at the end of the day that I will be quite predictable at the end of the day, from day to day, week to week, month to month, and year to year, right? Season to season, quarterly to quarterly, doesn't really matter, right? Like type of month to type of month. Like, we have certain obviously consistencies and repetitive natures as human beings that make us predictable, and that's what you like in a human being as it is. Anyone that is unpredictable, right, sounds very like, oh, I'm living life by the skin of my pants or whatever it is. That's really, someone does not, if people do not like to be around people that are unpredictable, because there are a lot of work, a lot of energy, and also, again, unpredictable nature always leads to something that is destructive to other people, and always is kind of self-centered in nature. So even as a presenter and as a show, you need to understand that there has to be consistency, and obviously consistency and predictability within what it is that you are offering as a personality. Okay, so useful information and is more valuable than news. So yes, we do want to be able to give like information to our listener: traffic, weather, news, sports, like financial indicators, all this type of stuff. And also within the show, like, we will break down everything we have into news. Everything is information, right? But the thing is that, like, how do we make it valuable? Well, we make it's got to count in their lives. It's got to find some way of obviously having some kind of resounding effect within their lives. So we can talk about for I mean, what is, I'm just gonna just randomly, just give me 2 seconds. I just wanted to randomly check what's headlining in news. Just give me a second. I just wanted to, my, otherwise I just can't think off the top of my head. So let me just go to News 24. Okay, so let's um I'm just gonna quickly go to SA News. Okay. Um Ramaphosa appoints new SABC board. And then, okay. So, for example, like that has little to no interest, and also kind of like value to no one. I wouldn't use it. There's something, Free State Police arrest 205 people in 6 days. That's pretty interesting. Because the thing is that it's the why. It's the why. So we could use that, look into it a little bit further and see whether or not it actually has any kind of resounding importance to a listener itself. There's protest action at UCT amid the SOC claims of breach in mediation agreement. So that might be a great, like, let's say, springboard for something that is campus related, like SOC decisions. Why doesn't, let's say, Boston Media House have an SOC? Should they have one? Let's elect one. Let's make an initiative out of there. So the thing is, again, it is about, like, saying, let me look at the stuff quite quickly and seeing whether it is important to my listener or not. I hope you understood that. Okay, so here we're going to go through criteria, certain criteria, and that we can quantify, like quality at the end of the day, for our for our show and for our links and for our content and so on and so forth, right? I'm just going to quickly stop. I just want to see, like, uh, uh okay, all right. Kay, I see that. So I see that, of course, it was out for a bit. Kay, do you have any questions? Any comments, questions?
No, sir.
You good? Of course, yeah, I know you were out. I just had a look now. Do you have any questions? All good?
No, so I don't have any questions, but the link, I don't know what happened. I was just like removed out of the meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't. I don't know how long for. Again, okay. I'm just gonna, as I said, I'm gonna just jump over and see. I'm just gonna just leave that. How do I include this thing now? Um, I'm gonna stop the share and do the share again. So in case you do, I'm just gonna leave this in here. Just leave it up at the top here. Okay, so that I can see if someone does pop out or is it trying to get in. Okay. All right. So okay, so let's look at the different aspects. One, simplicity. So simplicity, as I've mentioned before, it's very again, to not confuse it with kind of like basic concepts. We don't want you to state the obvious or state like really kind of like you mustn't water down intelligence to make things simple. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that you need to actually break down information in ways that we can consume it. In the average listener must be able to understand it, whether it is technical, whether it is scientific, whether it is political, whether it is whatever it is, even complex in nature. You need to break it down in a way that will be easily, obviously, understood and consumed by. Remember, this is also a passive medium. And, obviously, I say the same things at necessary points throughout our learning because they are repetitively important. Listener fatigue is usually a result of too many ideas that go out in a show. So having too many things, like one after the other. So we have a competition, then we have a call out, then after the call out, we have an interview. After the interview, we do another call out. From after the call out, we do a feature. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to, one, obviously break down your clocks in a way that you have balance of admin links and teasers. So the basic stuff, the easy stuff that gives you and the listener a breather, but also you have to have balance across the type of content that you are obviously putting together for your radio show. So one reference. So memorable personalities may appeal to consumers with multiple character traits, but they get to know you as a person. So you are complex, but the thing is that you've got to have your quote unquote thing. And that doesn't mean like having a saying or having like a certain laugh or whatever it is, but they got to tell you apart from somebody else. Oh, that's Chris. Chris is kind of self-deprecating, but he is super like he's definitely his content is focused on, let's say, self-actualization or whatever it is. I don't know, like someone that's warm and friendly, or let's say funny and witty or sarcastic or whatever it is. And so the thing is that be careful of the umbrella, right? But the one thing that you need to be remembered for is your personality and how that differs for. That's what I would say. Instead of making it a tangible thing, something that you're doing, like rather have it be who you are. Consistency is really important because that's how people fall in love with you, and that's how you fall in love with other people as well. Like if you have to think of, let's say, if you're going to meet the love of your life, like this person, you get to know over time, and the more you get to know them, the more you like them, right? And the more they become the love, that one particular and only love of your life. Do you understand? You got to obviously look at that from to the friends that you choose, or the teachers that have taught you, or like I say, like a boss that you've worked for, whatever it may be. Like anything that is inconsistent becomes problematic to everybody or anybody that interacts with that. Now, the thing is that with inconsistency, people don't have tolerance. So what happens at the moment that they feel that you're unpredictable in personality and nature is the moment that people walk away. Okay. Um, all right. So you have to always you must be an interesting and a captivating like personality. In other words, you will organically, in other words, normally, you without effort, I'm saying your personality should grow because as a person, if you're making the effort to grow as a person, your personality will grow and enrich as you move along through time. And so that's what you need to aim for at the end of the day. Surprise. So the thing is, obviously, even though that we have a lot of predictability and we want consistency, we within that structure want to push like this is great. I didn't I love this interview. I'm so glad that you booked this person. I've really wanted to hear what they've got to say about this. Or I had no idea, like for example, like yeah, an example of behavioral psychology. As food is dropped to lab rats near a lever in their cage, they slowly learn to circulate around where the food appeared to originate. And when they do, the lever is tapped, their behavior is then rewarded. So what happens is that you actually start to train people in understanding that within your consistent framework, they will be surprised and rewarded by the dynamic nature of your show. So as I say there, like I say, for you to be able to build surprising and fresh and unpredictable content, you can only do that within a structure for your show and obviously for your approach on air. Okay. So both obviously lab rats and humans will immediate to they will respond to stimulation and reinforcement. So you want to be able to do that. It's not always through a competition or a promotion or you giving them something. Remember, if you give them something cool that they learned about, an interview that they wanted to hear, information that was surprising, or a game that was fun, they have gained from the experience. And so they quite enjoyed the time that they decided to spend with you. What is brevity? Brevity, self-contained bits that are better than content over several segments. So, in other words, like we should be able to look at like how we can do more in a shorter space of time, right? So brevity is us being able to say, okay, cool, we've got this great interview. Like we don't want to kind of like miss out on the opportunity because this was a really big interview. It's the president, whatever it is. So we're going to keep him here for about half an hour, but make sure that we don't sit on the segment for longer than, let's say, 4 minutes at a time. So we'll do three links. Each one will be about 4 minutes. We'll split over, let's say, about maybe 35 minutes or so to make it kind of nice and balanced with the music. And that will keep people listening and captivated longer, but also not exhausted because at any one point, even within those 4 minutes, like you can go and drift off a path that is purposeful and then start talking nonsense, both you and the guest themselves. Okay. So introductions, like and again, just so that you can't see there, but it doesn't matter. I'll talk you through that, right? Introductions have to be quick, but not even quick. They've got to be clever. So when we say clever, we're going to look at, let's say, big hosts like I say, Larry King, who had literally everybody and anybody like on his obviously CNN talk show. Like he doesn't care about introducing their guests with all this like to give them the credibility and to talk like massively about this big autobiography, like real-time autobiography. He gets straight to the question that is the first of why they are actually there. So obviously this person's going to introduce Chris is a whatever, he's an author and a whatever it is. Cool. So that the in this case the viewer knows why this person is being interviewed. That you must say, but you mustn't go like, oh, like how are you today? Oh, so how are you feeling or whatever it is, and waste your time with basically small talk because there is no one cares about that. No one cares. Like unless it has a reason, like how they feeling today. So for example, I can't remember now which that he was being interviewed by someone. It was one of the artists, essay artists that was in a car crash or whatever it is, and had to go to hospital and this and all the type of stuff. Like him coming on and being asked by the presenter, "How are you feeling today?" is relevant to the context of why he's there today, which is like obviously there's been a struggle to come and obviously like go he went through a process of healing or is currently going through and so on and so forth. It's going to have a reason as to why it is that you are deciding to include any part of that introduction as as um as a reason to waste time. Okay, I'm not going to play the audio. It doesn't really matter. I'm saying it's not really important in understanding this. Uh, uh, like like what really we have to focus about is how we build bite-sized pieces without kind of like giving ourselves up into the idea of, let's say, saying, well, this needs to be short all the time, short. No, it's got to be succinct. Succinct means get to the point with all the points that you need to make. That's it. That's it. So succinct means getting from one place to another place that both are important and need to be said. And that's really the master art of brevity. Control the conversation and the content that you're currently obviously dealing with. Controversy is super important. Controversy isn't shocking people for the sake of shocking people. Controversy is bringing up and discussing opinion and having discussion that is clashing. It'll have an extreme. It'll have extreme sides. It'll have color. It'll have depth. It'll have richness. It'll have dimension. That is what controversy is about. It's saying, listen, like we have to talk about this right now. You understand? And this has differing opinions and different stances. So let's delve into and break down X, Y, and Z. So so Jerry Springer, and you really have to have heard about Jerry Springer. Jerry Springer like hosted one of the most like controversial quote unquote talk shows. There was a lot of performance, there was a lot of drama, and it was very tacky. Like it was basically caravan life, guests that would come on. He would pick them specifically because there would be like the tearing of the weaves out and punching in the faces and whatever it is. But Jerry Springer, people would downplay Jerry Springer as a journalist, and he is slash was one of our leading journalists because of the way that he understands like how to build a show. And he's done a lot of other work, obviously not just the Jerry Springer show, but a lot of other work where he's done a lot of investigative journalism. He knows exactly where to pick at the right places so that we can get straight to the point of what is like an elephant in the room. Identity, when too many personalities compete for attention. So when you are, let's say you are in a team. Sorry, let me just get there. Yeah, in a team, you mustn't look at the other person and see them as competition, because if you do, you immediately have given into the fact that you are less than. So the thing is that you'll constantly be looking at that person so that you can kind of like spy on and make sure that you are aware of their growth and their strengths or whatever it is. Whereas if you're sitting in the same studio as another talent, I'm saying, be it a co-host, be it a team, be it whatever it is, maybe they're walking past the corridor, you're doing a show, you listen to the shows on like when you're off yours, and you're intimidated, like you will only deprecate further. That's the thing, because a personality needs to understand like the confidence in what they offer is different from the person next to them. Are they all the same attributes? No, obviously not. So in other words, one person will be better than another person in something. They'll be better than another person in something. They'll be better in another person in something else, right? So you need to hone in on and focus really arrogantly in a good way on your skills, your strengths, and what really you can 100% focus on without looking over your shoulder, to really formulate like a good sense of self-identity, which obviously then changes directly into product, which product becomes service, and service obviously becomes money to the station and to your life, right? So listener focus. So obviously, like talk the way that they talk. We're not saying that you must be as informal as a listener. So in other words, how you are in your own life is not how you should be on air. It is, but it has to be polished up. You got to take all your crutch words and like the words and phrases that cripple you like out. You've got to practice like your delivery. You've got to practice like your diction. You've got to have some kind of control of presence. You understand, and the way that you deliver, because it is part of our craft, right? But at the end of the day, respect their time. If they're tuning in, give them what they want. You understand, which is something good at the end of the day. Have a point of view, please, because otherwise we can have like that. They just put that chat GPT on as a DJ, and that is complete blasphemy too. Like you and us as professionals. I want to go through the theory first, please. So I'm nearly done, and then I'd like you to do this for work for Thursday. So let's get to the mission statement. Okay. So knowing all of this, so we taught this was taught in obviously unison to understand that when you get all of this, all these things like being able to apply the research and being able to apply yourself in certain segmentation of what it is that you're doing it in accordance and under the mission statement of the station. One, there's also a mission statement for your show itself as well that you got to that you write up for yourself. You want to obviously deliver to the like your audience and so on and so forth. And so it is important to, again, once I say the mission statement is always refreshed and revised, right? So let's look at it from a station's perspective, like with the GM, promotions team, support staff, everything like that. Like everyone that is responsible for the station itself should be considered when writing the mission statement, which is the shorter term out of the vision and the mission statement, right? So it is quite a process because you're doing a promise to people and you're doing a promise to yourself, your brand, your customers, your clientele, your listeners, so on and so forth, right? So you got to really be careful and take your time when you are building like a new mission statement for a station itself, right? Okay, so ways that we can come up with a mission statement for either a station or a show. Like in this case, I think it's more to do with the show. Let me just say, okay, yeah, right. Okay, so what do you want the audience to say about your show 1 year from today? How do you get that right? Like you want to obviously build for the long term. People cannot make a decision based on one, two, three shows, but more of a lifestyle choice. And you want to say, for example, like this show is funny, like this show has great energy, like this show has got the best interviews. Like what do you want to do, what do you want them to have? Weak shows lack a clear perspective. They just do what they want. So in other words, are you going to have you'll have a presenter that just kind of comes in, kind of wings the preparation, does whatever they want, and the show sounds messy and without focus from day to day. Like you want to be able to build again, like a trust, like a bond, a trust bond with your listener, and that is only done through them being able to rely on what you are giving them. So yes, everything that you want to do on your show should vary from complete, let's say, like I said, like you want to be able to cry with your listener and you want to completely like cry in tears, you know what I'm saying, but from joy with your listener. So you want to do everything in between, but you will come to the show with an ethos and you will come with a stand of your own to say that this is my sound, this is how my interviews sound, this is how my interaction with the listeners is or are, this is how I manage time, this is how etc etc. What emotions do you want to bring? I think that's more of a show thing. Do you understand? And again, like at the end of it, like you really want your fans just to be passionate about what you are doing. How do we bring about passion to a listener? Well, we've got to bring passion into it ourselves. And again, as easy as that sounds, that means you have to have complete buy-in. You need to be like sold on the stuff that you are busy selling to them as content, like and obviously and or else everything else on the show. Like if you don't sell it, then they won't buy it. If you don't buy it, they won't buy in. So how does each personality relate? Well, I mean, the thing is that like I don't like defining like a term here. Like you're a human being. How do you relate to other people is how you answer that question. And in what aspects? That's how you will start and you will go move forward as a presenter. Okay, what will the audience remember about the show? Let me say. So, what will they like? What I don't know. Do you have like a great, like you say, like again, like a great interview with a famous person? Was it really cool? Did you ask the right questions? Who's the show for? What separates it, like from pretty much every other show that they've listened to, maybe that day, maybe that week, maybe that month. What is the line of good taste? So never move into bad taste. You will not be forgotten. I mean, for bad taste within your approach. Okay, and with a mission statement in place, with all these type of things that you have considered between from there and from here onwards, right? You can build a show mission statement, which is what I'd like you to do for Thursday, right? So you will be moving into, this is not going to work. Um, in the semester before we end in June, right? So we've got a month and a month and a little bit, right? The last week, I will do studio training with you. So you will learn Genesis, you will learn how to use the desk. You will do dry runs of shows, like just playing around, obviously within your groups and stuff, in the production studio, so that when we come back immediately, what you're doing, because we're going to have a lot of practical lessons as well that follow up here. Like you got imaging, you got the music, you got, obviously how to edit, that type of stuff. And you will be immediately able to execute shows. I think we have like 2 weeks into the new semester, and then you'll start your broadcasts, which is your F3, another group project. Okay. All right. So I would, for myself, like I say, just for Thursday, what do you want the audience to say about the show, right? I wouldn't say 1 year from now. Just what do you want them to remember when you go on air? What do you want them to get from it? What emotions will your show target? How does each personality relate? You can take a picture. And I mean, you have maybe some kind of idea of your group. If you don't have an idea of your group and you want to do this as an individual, so how does your personality relate to the audience? Then you can go ahead. What will the audience remember about the show every time they tune out, and finish up with it? What is the line of good taste that will never be crossed within your own show? So let's close it there. Uh, and then I'm just going to stop the recording. Stop it there. Okay. Uh, okay, questions. Let's stop it. Sorry.